Hello, everybody. Today we are here with Michael Arterberry. He was born in New York, where he's living at the moment. And well, he has a lot of struggles when he was a child that he's going to tell us in a moment. But thanks to some positive adult role models that he had, he was able to change his life for the better. And eventually he decided to dedicate his professional life to helping people. And he has been doing that for more than 25 years, helping teenagers and also adults. And he's author of Be Encouraged, 250 Days of Motivation and Encouragement. That is a daily motivation book. And also you can read about his story in his wife's book, God Has Holding My Hand. Welcome, Michael.
Yes, how are you, Esteban?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes.
Can you explain us these difficulties that you had when you were a child?
Yeah, I'll grab some of the more important things. First and foremost, Esteban, my father was a raging alcoholic. And what I mean by raging is he was not very nice, and he raged right up until the time I died. So it wasn't like I really had any days off. 16 years he was in my life, and I think every day that I lived, he put in my mind a place of not feeling safe and secure. So, on a daily basis, living that way was a struggle. Also, I grew up in poverty. My family didn't have much money. My dad was a bus driver. My mother cleaned homes for a living, and she pretty much raised me and my other three siblings with her salary because my dad would use his money to use it to drink out in the streets with his friends. As far as there's some dysfunction as far as not being able to be good role models. My house, my mom was a loving mother, but, because of where I lived, there wasn't really an environment that really was conducive to being successful. I remember, in the home that I grew up in, many winters without heat. If you don't have heat, we don't have hot water. And I remember being really embarrassed about where I grew up. So, those are some of the difficulties that I had growing up, Esteban.
And how did you revert that situation? How did you start doing things for the people? And how did this vocational interest in helping people start?
I'm a firm believer is at the time that I was going through it, I had no idea what or why it was happening, obviously. But as I got older, I realized that the reason I picked my vocation is because I want to be able to lead people through their lives so that they're able to overcome like I did. I was able to overcome because, yes, there were people that were put into my path to influence me, but also because I made a determination in my mind that I wasn't going to recreate or recycle what I came through. My siblings, I got brothers and sisters who made the decision to be better later in their lives and they got their acts together. But I made sure that my life wasn't going to be similar or modeled after what I came from. So my life today is a lot different because I put different strategies into play to make sure that it didn't happen that way.
Mm-hmm. So now, talking about the sessions that you do with the teenagers and with adults,
right?
Can you explain us how they work?
What I do is I teach a concept that I call being able to shake your dirt. And what I mean by that is when I talk about the alcoholism, I talk about the poverty, I talk about the dysfunction, that's my personal dirt. And so what I believe is that we all grow up and go through things in our lives, and I call that our dirt. And what I teach is that if you learn to shake your dirt and step on it, it will give you the ability to be able to press on in your life and be successful. What happens though is that people can go through things similar to what I just listed about myself. And if they're not able to shake their dirt, just like with the physical dirt, that dirt will suffocate and take them out. So I teach people to be able to look at their lives from a proper perspective so that they're able to use their dirt as a catalyst to success rather than for failure.
That's pretty interesting. Can you tell us some examples of the more challenging students you have had, or some difficulties that you found during all these 25 years?
You know, one of the difficulties is that, and I don't like to compare people to animals, but I'm going to do that. So please don't, anyone don't get offended by it. But there's a term that they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and what I mean by that is when you get a teenager or especially an adult now, either one, teenager or an adult, and they're set in their ways. See, what happens when you live a dysfunctional life, you create systems that fit that dysfunction. So even though your life is bad, rather than making it better, you do things around your life that makes it the bad things work. So when I meet you and I'm trying to change your thought process, it's difficult to have somebody think about something in a different way when they've modeled their life around all of the things that they've gone through and they've created those systems that were not traditional.
Can you tell us now, how did you get to overcome the difficulties of your life? Like how the biggest quantum leaps, let's say, how did you come from struggling to becoming a supporter of people, helping people? What the main events of your life that helped you do that?
Right. When you think about the main events, there's one thing that really pushed me, and I don't want to call it an event, but when I talk about, I remember when I used to fall asleep in that house, the house that I grew up in, Esteban, and it would be cold and it wouldn't have no heat, and I would be under my covers and I would be crying. But I said to myself, Esteban, I said that when I got older and I had my own kids, my own children, my children would never have to live the life that their father lived. And, that became really the catalyst for my success. So anytime that I ran into a difficult situation, Esteban, and I felt like I wanted to throw in the towel and I wanted to give up, I thought about my unborn children. And that would help me push and press on to be successful. And I now have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. And my kids, they don't know anything of the lifestyle that I came from. And so, sometimes you have to pick something that makes you strive for it outside of yourself so that you can make it more of a catalyst to success rather than failure.
Mm-hmm. Do you how do you feel supported by your children, and not only by your children, by your wife, by the rest of your family?
Well, I feel supported. I feel supported. Sometimes they don't have difficulties supporting me, but when you are the master supporter of the house, I kind of pour into them a little bit more than what I get back. But I get my satisfaction for what I do by seeing the fruits of my labor. So, by me seeing someone become successful from something that I've said to them, it's almost as if I'm actually accomplishing it on my own. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I kind of feed my own soul from what I do. You know what I mean? So I don't need someone to actually tell me how good I am. Just seeing that you've been able to benefit from something that I've told you makes me feel satisfied.
Mm-hmm. Good. So now, can you tell us like at least one of the biggest mistakes you have done, and how would you do it if you could change that? If you start again?
You know, one of the biggest mistakes that I think I had was the biggest mistake I had was really feeling sorry for myself. You know, I think that as I went through my difficulties, there were times that I felt sorry for myself and didn't understand where I was at and what it may have meant. So what I mean by that is, you know, I would constantly hide the reality of my situation. So I ended up going to school in a school district where they had more money. So imagine, rather than just being true to myself, there was a time period in my life where I pretended to be something that I wasn't. And I think that when you lose authenticity of yourself, you know, you have to be careful, because if you don't finally realize that you've done that, I mean, imagine, you know, to wake up every morning and have to put on a mask to present yourself as something that's not reality. That's a lot of work. So I think being true to myself and who I am as a person was something that I wish I would have done at an earlier age.
I understand. So, yeah, it's not to pretend to be somebody that you are not. It's like to be genuine, to be uh, honest. No.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Do you have any book that you can recommend to people? Any book, one or more, that you say, oh my God, this is not to be missed.
Yeah, I have a few. There's a book that I read called The Gift Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. And it's a book about how we all, God has put in us a purpose and a plan. And so, you know, a lot of people, when you're growing up, you know, you may put on a cowboy outfit and ride around like you're on a horse, and you want to be a cowboy. You want to be, you know, work with horses, and you'll go through life, and then somebody will bully you and tell you, no, Esteban, that's not a good career because you're not going to be able to make enough money. And so the premise of the book is to let you know to stay focused on that thing that's planted in your heart. If you wanted to be a policeman as a little boy and you get older and somebody talks you out of that, that's not a good thing. It's good for you to stick to what you feel has been planted in your heart. Another book that I liked is a book called The Prayer of Jabez. And you know, I'm very much into my spirituality, and the book talks about how you can ask God to broaden your territory. You know, and what I mean by that is your influence to the world. You know, and I think that that's big. That me, I'm not trying to be God, but I'd like to influence the world. So the book really resonated with me because it makes me think about the fact that I want to be someone who influences and does things in the world to make change. And the final book, you know, not to stay on the spiritual deal, but is the Bible. You know, I try to read on a daily basis, and try to get what I call some of the word in, because it's part of my nature, and it's part of what I think makes me unique and brings me powerful insight when I work with people.
Okay, I take note of the books. Did you experience another chapter in your life that was when you had a spinal cord injury that
Yes.
also well, it was a life-changing event, I guess. Can you
Yes.
explain
What
how was
happened?
that, and what changes produced into your life?
You know, what happened was is I was born with a cyst on my spinal cord, Esteban, and it was the size of a pimple when I was born. And by the time I became, I think a few years after I graduated college, it was the size of a fingertip. It got big enough, it was on my spinal cord. And when it got bigger, it compressed my spinal cord against my vertebrae, and it stopped the spinal fluid from going to my legs. That being said, it was paralyzing me. I had no idea. So I started to lose the functioning of my legs. they found it, they removed it, but they couldn't reverse any of the damage that had happened to my legs. And so it was a difficult time for me because I went from being an elite athlete to a guy that really, I have some difficulties getting around sometimes, but, I work out every day. I continue to work out, and perseverance is what I like to teach to other people. And that's what I do with my injury is I get up every morning, I work out. I don't allow my body to stop me or prevent me from what I want to do. And I think that when people have perseverance and resilience, it's a quality that you need to have, because there's one thing that I can guarantee everyone is that you're going to have a struggle in your life. And so if you have that perseverance and that resilience, and you know about what it is, when you have different goals set out in your life and you run into opposition, you won't throw in a towel. You'll keep pushing forward to try to make that goal or that thing happen.
I agree with that. Well, you have said already many pieces of advice, but if you have 30 seconds to say something to somebody who also might feel down or coming through a difficult situation, what would you say in these 30 seconds?
I would say never lose hope. I think hope is if there was that one word that we all have to embrace and keep, is hope. And you got to always say to yourself that no matter how bad your situation is, no matter how difficult your situation or challenge may be, you have to have hope. And I say that because I've met young teenagers and adults that have lost hope, and that's a dangerous individual. You know what I'm saying? When a person gets to a point where they don't have any hope, as a teenager, you see some of the decisions they make is pretty reckless, but also as an adult, when you lose hope, you abandon any type of strategic planning, and you kind of just do whatever is whatever. So, hope is something that I would project in that 30 seconds. That's
Okay, got it. Now, where can people find you? Your
okay.
website, your platforms?
Yeah, they can find me on Facebook, Michael.Arterberry. They can find me on my website. I have two websites. So I have a website for my personal speaking, my motivational speaking, which is michaelarterberry.com. I have a nonprofit where I work with the youth, and that website is youthvoicescenter.org. I just put together a online course, Esteban, which is called Shake the Dirt Experience. And they can go to shakethedirtexperience.com and they can register for that course and get a free gift. And they can also find me at LinkedIn under my name, Michael Arterberry.
We're going to write all these websites in the description of this video, so people can just click on them.
Right. So, and also, I'm sorry, Esteban,
Go ahead.
my book, and I wrote a book called Be Encouraged. It's a devotional style book where you can pick a page and read it and get motivated for the day. And also my wife wrote a book about my life story, which is called God Was Holding My Hand, which also both of the books you can purchase on Amazon.
Yes, we mentioned at the beginning.
Yes.
The last question, how do you see yourself in the future, let's say in 5 years or maybe even in 10 years?
What I would like to do more of is I've been doing the program with the youth for most of my life. The public speaking, I've done it. My program, actually, I'm doing public speaking, but I'm doing it in groups. But I would like to be on stage, on a stage, and so that I can reach more people at once. So 5 or 10 years from now, I would like to, be on a tour, you know what I mean? Going to different venues and being able to talk to large audiences to give them motivational and inspiration rather than the smaller groups with the teenagers. That's the
Well, that is also kind of my vision. As we It's really great to talk to you because we share that passion to help people, to help them to improve, to grow. So yeah, it has been really a pleasure to talk with you, Michael. And I hope if you have been listening to this interview, you have enjoyed as well. Remember to subscribe to this channel and to follow Michael's website and have a look at the books. And yeah, that's all for now. Thank you, Michael.
All right.
Well, see you soon. I'm
All
sure
right.
we will keep in contact.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Esteban.
Thank you.